Good morning, good afternoon. Good afternoon,
We knew what you
everybody. Good
meant.
afternoon. Good afternoon. Happy Sunday. This is Karen here, your favorite virtual assistant, and today we are again for another amazing live. Before we get it started, Gail, I pat you over to you, and you just let everything begin.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, and welcome to another Sunday Live Chat. My name is Gail. I'm a training workshop facilitator operating out of the wonderful, beautiful island of Barbados, and I help companies train their teams on things like customer service, leadership, and team. Today with us, we have Adriana. Adriana is going to tell before we launch into today's conversation, which is about the importance of having documentation processes. I think I said that right. And Adriana is the owner of the Lazy Millennial, and that's an operations management and technical writing company for business owners and executives. But I know she's going to tell us when she's mentioning her notes about herself, like, why did she even come up with that name? Are millennials lazy? You're going to have to tell us about that. And welcome
Right.
to our Sunday chat. Adriana, it's really great to have you with us.
Thank you so much for having me. So, yes, I'm going to dive in a little bit about why I named the company the Lazy Millennial. I guess you pretty much gave me like a good head start, but just to start, Adriana, of course, the Lazy Millennial really just came from millennials because I'm technically under the millennial age, and then lazy. Everyone's just like millennials are lazy. This, that, and the third. And I was like, I want to figure out a way to name my company because I do process documentation, and that is pretty much the way of freedom in businesses. And I was like, how can I tie this in to my age group and all this good stuff? And I'm just like, the lazy millennial sounds good. And I'm just like, I want people to like one, like, okay, why did you name your company lazy millennial? And two, once they find out what exactly it's about, it's like, oh, that makes perfect sense. So that's where that came from. But like, there's no magical thing why I came up with that. There's plenty of people telling me not to even name my company this just because they're like, you're not going to be taken seriously, XYZ. And it's like, clearly I am because I was like, here we are.
Right. Right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the name too. It's got
Well,
you.
that was pretty good. Yeah. So at least I'm gonna thank you up front for letting me know that millennials are not necessarily lazy,
Right.
which is good. So let's get started. Can you tell us why it's important for businesses to document processes and like what experience led you to this realization?
Yeah. So, okay. So I know I always talk about the lazy millennial, and I'll say like, yeah, I celebrate 2 years. It's 2 years actually this month for the lazy millennial for the rebrand. But I've actually been in business 5 years now, and I originally started out as a virtual assistant. And with the virtual assistant business, I actually ended up pregnant about a month in. So I already knew off the bat. I was like, okay, I'm gonna need to find. 'Cause I actually got clients pretty quickly. I think the most I had was like 2 weeks, and I was already starting to get people into the virtual assistant business. And I'm like, okay, I need to figure out one how I'm going to manage my clients and stuff, and two because I'm actually busy and I need subcontractors just to like manage not only the pregnancy but like this work I'm in. How can I get this situated and like how am I about to go about this? And like I knew of standard operating procedures, like I've actually helped create some with some of the volunteer work that I did back in the day, but for some reason it didn't click with me owning a business. So like I had standard operating procedures and I was hiring people. I'm just like, okay, they're virtual assistants too. So like they should understand what I'm doing. They should know how things should be done, XYZ. What I didn't think about was I am very picky of how I like my stuff done. And just by letting them go wild, it wasn't the work I wanted to have. It wasn't so far. So just to kind of fast forward just a bit, I ended up turning my virtual assistant business into an agency, like after I had my son and everything. It turned to like an agency model. That was going great, getting clients and stuff, but I was still stuck in the middle. Like there were times where I wasn't able to delegate stuff out because I didn't have things written out clear enough for one of my team members to take over. So like I was sitting there, it's like, yay, great, and making money, but like stuck in the middle. And then when COVID hit, I got even busier. So like I had to start my day at like 4 a.m. sitting there working and then trying to work with my kids. Like one was in not even preschool, daycare age. Another one was in school. So it's like trying to manage that back and forth and stuff. And it's just like, all right, 2020, I was like, I got to shut down. I got to figure out something. Like I kept enough clients to kind of like keep me afloat and pay off software. It's like, I'm done. Like, I can't do this. I ended up documenting my own stuff. I'm like, okay, what exactly am I trying to do here? updated my own standard operating procedures. And then for the clients I was helping, for some of them, I decided to help them with their standard operating procedures because, like, there were times people were hiring me, but like I would be sitting there for months not doing anything just because they didn't really know why they needed me. It's like they needed help, but like maybe not in the capacity of that. So like I helped some of them with their stenography procedures. I'm like, oh, that's what that is. Like, actually, we don't know. Oh, actually, we don't like need you really anymore. So I've actually lost people once I actually helped, once I went that route. But overall, just not have like I had to slow down, do my own SOPs and stuff, and then I was like, okay, I need to figure out a way to teach other people this stuff and just to fast forward because I was like, this is a long, excuse me, this is a long story. But just to fast forward just a tiny bit. Once I got to like the flow of like, okay, SOPs is what people are missing because they're hiring. They don't have, I don't want to say don't have documentations. Like they have an understanding of stuff, their business, but like they don't really fully know what they want. I feel like that's not right, but we're gonna roll with that.
No,
They
I
didn't
understand.
have a-
I
yeah,
I
like,
understand what you're trying to
yeah,
say.
I was like, they didn't have a clear understanding. And then once I did my own, did theirs, started helping other people with theirs, and all this to say, process documentation was pretty much just needed for every little aspect of business. And I didn't realize how in depth it got. I figured like, okay, like we know the team portion side. We're like, okay, we know I need to hire people. I know I need to do this. I need to make sure I have stuff documented. Oh, I know I need to record stuff. But it's like it's deeper than that. And it's just like if you don't understand the operational flow of your whole business, having stand up procedures is going to be a waste, honestly. And that's how mine was with the virtual assistant agency. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just
Mm-hmm.
the
I think
importance of
that
just
is it right
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it
That is
is
it
needed
right
for
there.
like
You
pretty
don't
much like
understand. So
everything.
you are right.
Yep,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you
If
hit
you
it.
don't
That's
understand your
true.
business.
She got it. That's true. And as you, at least for me, and I'm sure you kind of just mentioned it. You come across some business owners they don't necessarily know their business, so they don't know how to convey what it is they need.
right.
Right. So you as a virtual
Mm-hmm.
assistant, you feel you're trying to get, okay, what exactly do you need from me? And in a retrospect, they end up feeling like they're not getting what they paid for
Right.
because they are not able to convey what it is they need. This is why I think as a virtual assistant, it's important to understand, ask certain questions to get what it is you're trying to understand from the person, right? That way you could be able to help them better.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate to take on clients but they don't know what they're doing because then that makes me feel like I don't want to make you feel like I'm just taking your money. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Exactly. And that's
So
what it became at some point.
yeah, so if that's what we're gonna be doing, I'd rather just listen, just figure out what it is your business need, understand your business a little bit more, right? Write down the things. I'm big on writing down what you don't want to do, and then be able to convey to somebody else. But also, you know how you do things in your business. You know how to do
Right.
things because it's you do it constantly. But now, when it comes to training somebody else, it becomes hard to train somebody because it's already ingraining you to do it
Yeah.
simultaneously. There's no thought to it.
Yeah. It's like it's
So
our
this is
habit.
where
Like
SOPs comes in.
right.
This is where it comes in. So I think that's a good key that you brought up when it comes to business owners and just not able to convey what it is they need. And SOP will help you do that. Okay.
Exactly. 'Cause I always tell people standard operating procedures are just they communicate for you. They're your documented communication. So like if you can't tell other people through your standard operating procedures what you're trying to do, then it's a waste. And like I said, for myself, mine was built the same way. Like I had stuff written down. I had like some videos and stuff. I showed people what to do, but I didn't have an understanding of the operational flow of my company. So like when I was giving it to them, like yeah, I had the task, but I didn't have an understanding and I didn't know where I wanted to go with it really. I kind of was just winging it. And it reflected. So when other people were doing that task, it's like it was getting done. And it's just like, what? I saw this in my head. I'm not communicating this in paper. So like that's where the disruption was. So I was like, yeah, standard operating procedures are good, but like you also have to make sure too, you already understand the operational side of your business, like one
Right.
on one.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
So I have a question for you, Adriana. Are you really saying then that A, I have to document my processes, meaning how I want things done? My step one, my step two, my step three, my step four, meaning, for example, if a client contacts me, and this is, of course, if something happens to me, if a client contacts me or my team, this is what I want you to do. This is the information I want you to get from them. This is when you send the proposal. This is what the proposal should have in. So I'm thinking we want to do this step by step so that
Yep.
if something happens to me, my business can run. But I think the other point you were making, and I just want to be clear so that our guests can be clear as well, you still need to let that person who is going to do this task understand the bigger picture. So, how does this little piece I'm doing fall into the bigger picture? When I do X, how does it affect, A, B, and C, which leads to X, Y, and Z, if
Right.
my understanding is correct, because that's even more important. So it's not just about writing down these steps for a task. This is about
Mhm.
showing that person how this task completes the bigger overall, like the holistic goal that I have
Yep.
for my business. Okay. So now, and what you're saying too is that when I am doing this for myself, I need to make sure that my people understand this too. Right?
Yeah. That's exactly it.
Right. Okay, good. So now that we've
You
got
nailed
that
it. You got
covered,
it.
I just want to make sure we're talking in English so that people can
I know. It's
understand.
like I always try to like be mindful of, and I always tell people like, call me out if I'm saying something, and it's just like, sis, please back up, or like specify, like do that. Cause I get excited, and I'll
Okay.
say all the technical terms and say all this stuff. And people just like, what are you saying?
Ah,
So yeah, y'all just
well, yes, but I know that, like with Karen, because we talk a lot about SOPs, and she did say standard operating procedures. What does that mean in English? What is that like?
Mhm.
What does that vague term mean for some people? We may know what she means, but
yeah,
so I'm just thinking if we can just have the conversation where we are clear, and then people
right,
could really understand. Yes,
Right.
it's not only about this step by step process; it's about understanding how to connect the dots, and connecting the
Yeah.
dots, especially when you're entrepreneur, is very, very
right.
important. So why don't you think people in business focus
Yeah.
more on this important aspect? Because I know a lot of businesses, they don't worry about SOPs, they don't worry about
Mhm.
what happens if they're not there, especially if you're delegating the task, and sometimes you think people coming onto your team, you think that they already know what they need to do, that's why you're hiring them, and
Right.
then you realize that they may be missing a step or two which is critical for your particular business. So why do you think people don't pay more attention to that, Adriana?
I'll say honestly, it's boring. Like that's people are just like, why do I need to do this? Like I want to go off to making the money part. Like I need to figure out how to put my name out there. Like I always say, like the marketing piece. Like people are always trying to figure out marketing. Like they want to get themselves out there, and yes, that's important. But like documentation and writing the stuff down kind of go hand in hand. So like if you're doing this, you should be writing down anyways what you're doing, so that way you have something to fall on, and like we know what to actually measure, or we know
Mm-hmm.
if it's successful pretty much. So honestly, it's that really is just boring, or people will say they don't have time for it, and I always challenge them. It's like, are you sure you don't have time for it? So I'll talk about that a little bit later, but like it's honestly not time, lack of time, and there's no interest in doing it. And a lot of times too, I always found when people say they don't really interested or don't realize they need it is because too, again, it falls on because I was guilty, not guilty, but like I didn't know this much either. And it's just like the business, like when I started it, I had a business plan, but it's just like, it's kind of like drafted, but like we plan our business to kind of like, we plan our business for the right now. We don't really think about starting our
Mm-hmm.
business and knowing how we're going to exit out of it. So like I always tell people, like if you're starting a business, yes, you need to focus on the right now and stuff, but you also need to focus on the end goal too. Like, are you planning to sell it? Are you planning on just being you and like it dies when you die? Like, how is this looking? Like, what are you doing? So, like,
Now,
once
how
you
many people are dying? How many people are dying?
I know it's just like, like how exactly are you trying to do this? And then
Mm.
they're more willing to like, okay, oh, I didn't think about that. 'Cause, like people hold on to the business like, this is my baby, this, that, and the third. It's like, no, we gotta let it go. So we gotta figure it out. But yeah, it's honestly just boils down to like being boring, lack of time, or just like really not understanding
Mm-hmm.
why we're in business. Like we just know we need money
Yeah.
now, and not necessarily I'm building a whole system for someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's funny that you mentioned that because I think that I'm guilty of that too, right? We
Yep,
like we it's like when I hire somebody, I teach them how to do it,
right.
but not realizing, listen, what is it? It's having even like Gil mentioned it. Something happens to you, then what happens to your business? Like, who's gonna operate it? Who's gonna keep flowing it? Right? Who's gonna keep
Right.
going it? And I think that's this is why I really truly believe SOPs and standard procedures are important, because you never know. We could eat as healthy as we want. We could exercise every day, but listen, life, true things happen in life. You
Yeah.
could get cancer. You could get anything, terminal illness. Life situations happens, and this is when, can you step away from your business for 90 days? I saw something that came across my feed where somebody asked, can you step away from your business for 90 days? And if the answer is no, then that's when you have to consider, what can I do to fix this issue? And this is when SOPs, guys, if this is you don't know where to start, contact Adriana for that. Contact her to help you put this in place, because the worst thing you want is you created all of this, you created all this business, is moving and is making money, and then God forbid something happens to you, and then the business dies, and it's to start all over again. And you don't know how long you're going to be, depending on your circumstances. You don't know how long you're going to need to get yourself healthy, right?
Exactly.
So I think it's good to have this in place. So you have to have somebody step in, whether it's a family member or somebody you trust, to continue the business. They're able to know how to do it. They're able to know how to continue it, right? So I think, listen, it's important. I think we
Yeah.
all know that, but we kind of minimize it because we gonna be healthy. We gonna be good.
Right, like we don't think about that far
But
ahead. I was like, I'm
life
guilty of that
happens,
too. Like, I'll do it later. I'm just like, all
life
right, let
happens.
me sit back.
And
Cause
we
like
don't
even
think
now,
about
I
those
was like,
things.
tell
So
my
things
husband too. Like, if
happen, and then
something
you're like,
happens to me,
damn,
this is where
I
the
wish I would
file's
have had this
at. Like,
before.
you need to know this stuff.
So why allow yourself to go through that headache? Especially
Right,
when you created this brand. Listen, I created this business, honey. I wanted to afloat. Okay, I needed to make me
right,
money while I'm down for a little while. You
exactly.
know.
Like, I don't want to be here all day.
So
Anyway,
I think
either way, I
I
don't want
think
to
you
be
bring a
here
very valid
anyway,
point
all
when it
day,
comes
every
to that.
day.
I
So,
think you're on mute, John. I can't hear you.
oh, I was just agreeing with you. I was like, even I built this business. I'm like, even just for like general stuff, I don't
I
want to
think
be
she's on
here
mute.
all day, every day. So,
So, Adriana, that's a very good point. The thing is, too, I believe that when you're having that first conversation with your
Oh
client, I
yeah.
don't know if you found that as well, they're thinking of the no. They're not thinking of the future. And Karen and I had this conversation earlier where we talked about how people manage future clients.
Oh,
So
somebody have a
I might
question.
have one client now,
Is it expensive to create an
um,
SOP?
you know, and now I'm not thinking about the 20 clients that may come to me in the future.
right,
And I think that's how the documentation would be really great.
exactly. It looks like we have a question. Like, is it expensive to create an SOP? No. All it is, so standard operating procedures, they're the way that you do your business. So like you can start out, like I always tell people, I start with a pen and paper, write it down, then I transfer it into like a Google document, and that's that. And then just kind of work off of it. It doesn't have to be that's another thing too. I should have added. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect. Another reason why people don't do them is just like they feel like they have to have the step by step process as soon as they figure out they need an SOP. It's like, no, you just need to simply write it down, write down what you're doing, and just kind of keep it updated. That's where the continuous improvement comes in. But like, it's not expensive. There is software for standard operating procedures, but like just starting out, I always tell people just write in your notebook or just write into like a software or something like that. Get it written down out your head, and you can organize it later. But if it's like you're
Mm-hmm.
about to hire right now, then yes, you gotta. then you gotta make sure that you have it written down like somewhere else for them. Um,
Yes. And there's another question. You can take that as well, Adriana. What is the difference between an SOP and brand guidelines? That's an interesting one.
I like that.
Hmm.
So, how I teach it, there's probably more technical terms. So, I have it broken down between personal business standard operating procedures and team standard operating procedures. So, like standard operating procedure, of course, the brand guidelines stuff all fall under the personal standard operating procedures. So, like, this is where the foundational pieces are built before you build out stuff for before you actually hire somebody. So, like, your standard operating procedure, yes, you need to figure out like the software and stuff, like how you're marketing, your branding material, all that stuff is going to fall under your personal standard operating procedure. So, like, you need to make sure you have that stuff first. all of them tie in. So like business plans, all that good stuff, all of them fall under the personnel standard operating procedures. And you need to make sure you have that done before you try to create like I call it the full standard operating procedures, like with the videos and stuff that you see sometimes with trainings and stuff. Before you try to worry about doing that stuff, you need to make sure you know the operational processes, the standard operating procedures, how your business works. So like you need to have that done first. So like the brand guidelines and stuff fall under the personal side. I hope that made sense because it's like they all fall in, like all of them are intertwined. They all fall into like the operational process of your business. And but you don't need to create like a how-to guide because it's just like your policies and stuff. Like this is what we are, this is it. Like it doesn't need like a full component for it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and there's another question from Andrea. What are the components? So, what things should you put in an SOP, and what should be in this document? Yeah, I guess she's just explaining the first part of the question. And Andrea actually took the question that I was going to ask you next. I was going to ask you that. What are the components of an SOP
Okay, so let's so
for your
I'll break
business?
it down with
For your
the
business,
personal
yeah,
stuff. Yeah, so
yeah.
I'll start with the personnel side. So how I break it down is like you have your personnel standard operating procedures and you have your team side. The team side that comes later. So like we are going to focus on the personal standard operating procedures, and with that, that is broken down into the departments of your business. I even break mine down, even if you don't have them yet. So like that looks like your marketing, sales, human
Your admin,
resources. I'm
HR.
trying to think what all, a whole
Yeah.
bunch of them. And then you have like you have your like your brand guide, like all that stuff. Like I can't think of all the departments and stuff. Like pretty much I just see our business as like a corporate, like a corporation. So like
Mm-hmm.
we have all the different departments, and within those departments though there's the sub compartments. So like that's where like the brand guys like might be under marketing, and I'm like sub of your marketing, it'll be like the branding, how that looks, like the coloring, the logo, all that good stuff. Again, that all falls under the personnel standard operating procedures. So like you have that,
Mm-hmm.
and then like the job descriptions, I saw someone mention that. All that stuff is created within, because before you hire somebody else, you are going to create all this stuff. So like especially if the owner, if you're like if you're already in corporate and this stuff is already done for you, but when you're the CEO or owner, you are the one creating all this stuff. So like the job descriptions, that's going to be in your personal SOP. So like the type of people you want to hire to fill out the different departments, you are in charge of filling that stuff out. So like all of that stuff is going to fall under your personal salary procedure. So like you're going to write out like, oh, I need someone to do marketing. How does that look like? If they are doing social media marketing, what exactly are they doing for that? So like you're literally mapping out every little thing inside this department. And once you are ready to hire, that's when the team standard operating procedures come in. And this is the ones that we are most familiar with. And with those standard operating procedures, this is where you do like the step-by-step process, of course. And then you have like normally I tell people like if you need to go more in depth or like really show someone, having a video, making sure you have the
Mm-hmm.
captions, making sure you have transcripts, different ways. Some people have like blogs. This looks different for each business and company, but you don't worry about that side until you have
The other side.
until you have the personal stuff done
Mm-hmm.
first. And this is
Okay.
where like that's why it's super important for people to get started. And just getting started with the personal stuff is simply writing stuff down, like having like little templates and stuff. Like okay, like branding, for instance, like how does my branding look? How does my voice look? How does this look? You need to make sure you have that written down. Again, it's in your personal SOPs, and personal SOPs are broken down. I do it by departments like corporate. You can do it however way you want because it's your business. Because at the end of the day, SOPs, standard operating procedures, are how you do business. It's the documented way you do business. So, like, if you want to create like a different word or something like that, or department, that's on you, and you keep your stuff there. But the point is to get it from your mind onto documentation. It's not going to look pretty at first. You're going to continuously update and organize this as you're moving on. So hopefully
Mm-hmm.
that cleared up.
Yeah, no,
Hopefully
no,
that
it
cleared
makes
up.
sense. So if I was to ask you for an example, it would be if I am going to create my personal SOPs, I'll talk about the HR and the marketing and stuff. And then if I wanted to break it down for the team side of HR as an example, it would be these are the steps I want you to follow when you're interviewing the person, the first interview, the second
Exactly.
interview, who do I want to have there, the questions that I want you to ask based on the position. Okay. So I have it, and I know that you provide all of these services if I am not able and I don't have the time. Although we're going to have you back to talk about time, because time is interesting, meaning we always think we don't have the time and
Right.
never look at, if we do it now, the amount of time we will save ourselves in the future from not having to do it ourselves. So I am now ready to do my SOPs and document my processes. So Adriana, give me, I know nothing. So imagine I know nothing about nothing. Give me 3 tips. What are the 3 tips you would give me to start that process
Okay.
before I hire you?
This is my favorite one. So, like, just as a general like overview, whenever you're getting started with your documented processes, I always tell people to start off with the goals that you have, maybe for like the month or quarterly, something like that. So you'll figure out what the goals are for that. Then you stick with one goal. So like your goal may be, I want to make, I'd say 10,000 a month, because I was like, that's always, I always see this in marketing. Like, I want to make $10,000 a month. So like your goal is $10,000 a month. Cool. So what kind of software, you're going to break that down. What kind of software and stuff do I need? Like, how does that look like? What kind of platforms do I need to be on? What services am I promoting? Things like that. So you're going to break that down. And then with the processes, it's just going to simply look like, okay, out of all of the stuff that I am using, like I'm promoting on LinkedIn because I want people to know about my business. I'm going to say like, okay, one of the processes, I'm going to do more live videos. For the live videos, how does that look like? Am I collaborating? Create step-by-step process for that. If it's just for you, you're going to create like, okay, how often am I going to do this? There's so much that goes in it, but there's that one. But like for someone that's just like, even that, as I'm talking, like, girl, this is overwhelming. I always tell people, start with your to-do list. I'm sure if you're not, I know some people write it down. Some people just like know what they have to do. Because again, we created that habit in our head. Like we know what needs to go on in our business. What you need to do next is, okay, this week, I know I'm going to check my email each day at certain times. From
Hmm.
there, you're going to create, okay, how often am I doing this? You can write down like your to-do list, strictly get a document, get your notebook, whatever you need, write down, I'm going to check my email. From your emails, how often are you checking it? Are you sorting it? And just write like a couple good notes, because I'm guilty of writing notes and not not breaking down the notes. So I'm looking back and I'm like, what was I doing? Like, why did I write this down? So like make sure you're taking good notes. Like I'm doing the emails. Okay, I'm checking down the inbox. I'm looking for something from like Honeybooks. I use Honeybook as my CRM. Something like anything like that. But like for your to-do list, you're just writing down what you're doing simply. You don't have to worry about videos. You're just strictly, why are you checking the emails right now? And then you're going to check the frequency of that. If you're doing something else, like whatever sales activity, how often are you doing the sales activity? People are you reaching out? But overall, you either start with the goals, or for someone that gets truly overwhelmed, I tell them to start with the to-do list. It's all gonna pretty much just be connected to like, okay,
Yeah.
how the frequency, how often you're doing it, the platforms, because again, all the stuff falls under your personal SOPs, because you need to keep account of what exactly you're using inside your business, how often you're using it, are these things paid, all that good stuff. So it just
Yeah.
all of them are intertwined. So that's, I always tell
Hmm.
people, start with your to-do list, or if you can move a step up, start with the goal and do like the bigger understanding of it.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I think that's a good one. I think actually, yes, if you start with your goals and then you should see what comes out of your goals and then go from there. It doesn't have to be that difficult as long as you have your to-do list. You can refine your to-do list as you move ahead in the future. So as we begin to wrap up, um, where do you want people to go to continue the conversation with you? What do you offer? How can you take the pain away from us?
Absolutely. So first off, of course, you guys can follow me as Adriana Richardson or the Lazy Millennial. I always tell people start off my email list, because I do have a personal SOP workbook just to kind of like get the conversation, or not the conversation, just to get people to start documenting. It's, of course, it's a workbook. It's very broad, but like it at least helps. So like join the
Mhm.
email list definitely. I mainly hang out my email list, and I'm constantly emailing them. And also too, I do have a separate community. Don't really talk about that much because I'm about to shut it down for the month as I update it. But like it's called Journey to Laziness. So if you look that up as well, it's also on the website, my main website. You can look that up as well. That's why I'll be putting templates for operational processes and helping you break it down into different departments. Again, just keep noting on that. I'm about to shut it down. But like if you do join this month of April, if you happen to look it up, Journey Laziness, there is a code. You use Lazy Way, you get half off your plan for the first initial payment, and I think it's like $350 for the year. But overall, email list, definitely stay connected there. Like I'm on social media, but the email list is where I'm really hanging out.
Okay, great. So we're gonna wrap up now. I want to thank you for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as we did. Karen, I'm gonna let Karen, you know, close us out as well. Let me just tell her
Yeah.
she's getting a bit of
I know the tech,
delay.
but it's okay.
Yes. Thank you for today. I hope everybody had a great. I hope this live was very informative and knowledge for everybody. I hope everybody took tips. Can you ladies hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I hope everybody had a great live. And Adriana, thank you for today. Thank you for just showing up and giving us the value. Any last words you want people to take on for today?
Um,
Okay,
what?
guys.
Yeah.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.
Bye, y'all. I'll
Bye.
put in the comments.